Okay. What kind of picture you here? Let's see, gotta go. Which side's the camera? Which camera?
Something.
Or anything?
Maybe turning him up would be a good thing.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. I see I'm hearing myself. Must be coming back through your mic, Brian. Turn down the monitor if your mic is on. There you go. Okay, we're cool. So I think everybody's good. I have not heard back from Jordan Roper.
Was he the one who dipped out last time?
Yes.
Can't have that.
He let me know. He let me know last time that he wasn't going to be available. He has not let me know. He has not let me know. He has not let me know. He hasn't let me know that he's not available, but he hadn't confirmed. Aaron confirmed. All right. Will, anything in particular you want to bring up tonight?
I have some trivia for you.
Related to
the Palmetto Bowl. It is Palmetto Bowl trivia.
That's just dandy.
That I stole / bogarted off my friend Tim Beret.
Well, I'm sure it's Clemson positive related trivia.
I mean, it is Clemson sided trivia.
Mm-hmm.
It revolves around Clemson.
course it does. So you got all your stuff up and in good shape. How long did it take you to do it?
10 minutes.
Total?
Yes.
Well, next time you can do the whole thing.
I don't stress as much about miscues.
Well, that separates the great ones from just the very average ones.
I also don't make many, though, also.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Well, I think this is going to work.
Yeah, we're going to call them here at the end.
Yeah.
But they're all in. What did it take me? 10 minutes, bro? How long did it take me? About 10 minutes? 10, 12 minutes. I also use probably longer pieces, though, too.
Touchback, 2 points.
Longer, to say the least.
We got a good one going on. Michigan and VCU.
You know that Charleston's playing with that Great Alaska Shooter? You know that they're doing away with that tournament?
The Great Alaska?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Last year of it.
Because they're not getting any juice anymore. I don't think they even televise it anymore.
No, it's online this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Chaminade is not going to play in the Maui Invitational except in even years in odd years going forward.
The world just keeps changing.
The Silver Swords. They want to come recruit on.
Yeah, they want to come play. They're going to play on the mainland and in the even years. They think it'll be better for exposure and recruiting that way to play schools on the mainland while the tournament's going on.
Okay.
This comes after, of course, they beat Cal. But Cal also lost to UC Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
Not impressed.
But they gave Wichita all they wanted.
True.
That's what happened. They ran out of gas.
I don't know if Wichita wanted that, bro. I don't know if they wanted it. They gave them all they wanted. I'm not sure if they really wanted it. Though.
They wanted it. They needed to be tested.
Did they? Go ahead.
Okay.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Obviously, we're a deeper football team. We have more depth. We're an older football team, although 70% of our roster is still freshmen and sophomores. This football team competes. And that's one thing when you turn the tape on, you're going to see great effort. You're going to see guys running the ball. You're going to see guys offensively finishing plays.
There's a lot of emotion that's tied to the game, but at the end of the day, emotion ain't going to win. That don't win the game. You can get all fired up, don't win. It's players making plays. It's execution. It's blocking. It's tackling. Same thing that wins every other game wins this game.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Happy Thanksgiving, a day early as we come to you live tonight on Sports Talk. Phil Kornbluth at an undisclosed location along the eastern seaboard tonight on assignments. the Professor Tom Hayes and Will Pelagic back at our studios in downtown Columbia as we come to you live tonight. Tomorrow night, a pre-recorded edition of Sports Talk, further previewing the USC Clemson football game coming up on Saturday. But tonight, we give you full dosage of information and insight from our experts. We've moved everybody up a little bit because of the holiday. We'll have the M&M boys in their regular slot at 6:30 tonight. The coach and the quarterback, Steve Tannehill and Chuck Reedy, will be with us at 7:05. And then we'll talk a little basketball in the next hour as we do on Wednesday nights with Jordan Roper and Aaron Lucas. Plus, we'll hear from the Tigers' Dorian O'Daniel and the Gamecocks' Alan Knott. Guys, if anybody on any side has said anything that would be considered close to inflammatory, it would be Alan Knott, because he talked earlier this week about getting revenge. He also brought up the fact that the players at USC felt a little bit, shall we say, put out by the way Clemson handled the end of the game last year. So Alan Knott, the center, the veteran, will give us a little bit of something to chew on tonight.
And I think that's about the closest thing we've gotten to any inflammatory comments. I think Clemson, for the most part, kept their comments measured. And while Alan Knott's comments can be looked at as kind of stoking the flames, I don't think that necessarily means that anything that was said throughout the week from either Clemson or South Carolina side would be, quote, bulletin board material, if you will. Would you say, Pro?
No, I wouldn't. In fact, I think it's probably been like it's been the last few years, a little bit tame.
Yeah.
Unless you held a mic a few years ago in front of DJ Swearinger, you're not going to get anything. And I think most of the players will tell you, if you back them in a corner, it doesn't really mean anything. Once you get hit in the mouth after the first kickoff, it's all on the field.
It's all football.
You got to execute.
Well, I have to publicly apologize to the people of South Carolina because I feel like it's my duty every year this time of the football season to get something stirred up with some pointed questions at the players and the coaches. And I admit I was a bit muted this year, and I was at the USC press conference. Will was up at the Clemson press conference. Being new to the scene and not wanting to make too many enemies too quickly, I think he kind of reeled it in as well. We just didn't really get in there and stir up the hatred like we like to do.
You know, I didn't. I asked some pointed questions. I asked Dabo about whether or not it's easy or hard to keep tabs on the other. And I think at the end of the day, I think both teams realize what this game is all about. And this game has seen its warts, and I wrote so in my column. You know, we all remember the brawl in 2004 and some of the things that have happened off the field that have taken attention away from this rivalry. I think both these head coaches want their teams to be a reflection of them, which is they're both very classy individuals. They both want teams to take care of their business the right way. And they both want this thing to be settled between the white lines and not anything that comes in the extracurricular sense.
Well, but you know what? We never got around to asking the players in particular, hey, do you hate those guys? You know, would you go across the street to put one who's on fire? Would you pour water on him to douse the fire if he were on fire? You know, things like this. So would you, and get that answer of, no, I would not. Of course I wouldn't go across the street. I would hope that they burn up, blow up, whatever the case may be.
It's a reflection.
You know.
It's a reflection of the way that this sport and other sports in general have gone. I mean, Kelly Bryant and Jake Bentley were, I think, together during the bye week watching the same high school football game, and they were talking like they were peers. I mean, too much of these guys come up and grow up together, and they're not necessarily, you know, they're not necessarily divided by the collegiate lines as maybe guys in the past would have been. But again, when you strap it up and when you have those guys on the opposite end of the field, then they know it's competition.
Well, Steve Spurrier said it best, because let's face it, if you're a football player, you respect the other guy, because nothing like this sport would exist if you did not have opposition. So you have respect for the other guy who's playing the same sport you are. The other key is, if you watch these Clemson and South Carolina players, as they get older after they leave school, they all seem to have a camaraderie that fans can't realize.
I mean, heck, Nuke Hopkins has to look on the same team and see Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different examples of that in the National Football League. It's just these guys have figured out a way to coexist, except for one day a year.
Well, even Danny Ford said this week in an article in the state newspaper that he likes Gamecocks. You know, as he's gotten older, he's 69 now, and he said, "Hey, I get a lot of fans these days. Didn't have a lot when he was coaching at Clemson, but now that he's moving on in years and he's more of a representative of Clemson in his past when he was there, he feels like he has the time now to befriend Gamecocks and treat them with kindness and respect, something you never thought you would see back in the day when Danny Ford and Jim Carlin were butting heads and so on and so forth. So maybe it's a sign of the times that we're in is, this day and age, people are trying to get along maybe a little bit better in some arenas. And hopefully that will carry over then to the fans on Saturday night. An all-day tailgate could lead to a little bit of no, you don't think so?
No, there's where the ire really.
This is for the fans. This is very much for the fans instead of the guys on the field. This is very much a rivalry that sits with the two fan bases.
Okay, 800-956-7266. We are here to continue with your phone calls amongst everything else we've got going on tonight here on Sports Talk. Our Twitter poll question of the day, if you've been following along with us on Twitter and seeing the daily poll questions, the Palmetto Bowl poll question of this day, which defense will create the most turnovers? 68% say the Gamecocks. 32% say the Tigers. What do y'all think?
I think
South Carolina's been very good in the turnover department this year.
They have been, and I think the thing that their defense is in, they pick their spots and they make things happen with the chances that they take, and they usually take those chances when the team is deepest down, when they're in the red zone or when they're on third down. That's when they take their chances, and that's how they get teams to make those mistakes. I think South Carolina will win the turnover battle in this game.
I think South Carolina might first or second in the SEC in
turnover margin.
Turnover margin.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to do is Will Muschamp says, get the ball off people. And they try to do it as much as they can. One of the things I think Clemson has worked on in practice is cleaning up their own turnovers, because when you looked at that Florida State game, a lot of those turnovers were self-inflicted wounds. It wasn't really Florida State forcing any turnovers. I think another key is it will be interesting to see is South Carolina led the SEC in being least penalized.
Yes.
I wonder if that sort of will come into play in this game as far as the underdog not hurting themselves via the flags flying.
Just ask the ACC refs, right, Corn?
Yeah. Well, and something else, too, is South Carolina has been very proficient at gaining the turnovers and then turning them into points. And, if they get a chance to create some turnovers against Clemson Saturday and can convert those into points, I mean, that's how they're going to win. The Gamecocks have 76 points off of turnovers. 76 of their 279 points have come off turnovers. Conversely, they've only yielded 6 points off turnovers. That's a plus 70 in that particular category. That's pretty strong.
Clemson 70-13 in that margin as well.
All right, we'll be right back. You know, there's no tickets available for the USC Clemson game, at least through the legal methods. There's some other tickets floating around out there in a variety of different ways. You know where you can get tickets, though? Tickets to the Touchstone Energy Bowl in Myrtle Beach in December. Those indeed are still available. In fact, they're only $15 until November 24th. After that, $20. Go to their website and order those tickets, scliving.coop. Go to touchstoneenergybowl.com. That's where you go for the tickets, touchstoneenergybowl.com. Now, to get a couple of free tickets to the game in Myrtle Beach, the winner getting 2 tickets, a $100 Visa gift card, and free Touchstone Energy merchandise, register by December 1st at scliving.coop/touchdown, scliving.coop/touchdown. All right, 800-956-7266 is the number. Couple of quick things. Had the pleasure of being on the radio in Florence this morning, as we do annually the day before Thanksgiving, with the bad boy of Sports Talk Radio, Alan Smothers, and his cohort, the former Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina, Ken Ard, and others, George Rogers, Tyler, George, former Gamecock Heisman Trophy winner, of course, Thomas, former linebacker for the Tigers. Always a great get-together. They had Dabo Sweeney on live this morning with us. Dabo said during that interview that Trey Lamar, his linebacker, one of his linebackers, will be out for the USC game, still dealing with the effects of a stinger that he suffered. When did he suffer that stinger? Do you remember, Will? Was it last week, a couple of weeks ago?
I believe it was the Florida State game, I believe is when that was.
Probably so. So anyway, that's news from the Clemson side of things. You got a little Gamecock note, did you say?
2-6, by the way, are the Clemson Tigers against the spread. So South Carolina has 6 victories against the spread in the last 8 times that these two teams have met. So if you're looking for some South Carolina, that could be a positive for you in that regard. The line's still at 14 on many of the consensus betting polls there.
Okay, 800-956-7266 to your calls in just a moment. The Citadel announced today that athletics director Jim Center is leaving to become the new athletics director at UTEP, Texas, El Paso. Robert Asunto will serve as the interim director of athletics starting in mid-December. Center was at the Citadel for about 3.5 years, did a great job in my eyes. I mean, look at this coaches he's hired and how the teams have performed for the most part. So, and a nice gentleman, too. I've had a chance to meet him a couple of times. So he is leaving. It looks like Chip Kelly's trying to decide between offers from Florida and UCLA. Don't know if he's playing one against the other or is generally just up in the air over a decision, but it appears to be the case with those two.
There's issues on both sides of that thing. We talked yesterday about the Florida show cause thing being a problem with the SEC. There's a hurdle when it comes to UCLA in that regard, and that's that UCLA is outfitted as an Under Armour school. You know, of course, that Chip Kelly was at Oregon, still has a close relationship with Phil Knight of Nike. That could be a barrier to his potential hiring with the Bruins.
Yeah. Well, knowing how the SEC operates, if they want something badly enough for Florida, they'll just change the rules and let it
kind of like North Carolina.
It's what they do. Latest odds from Bovada for the college football championship. Alabama has moved from 10-11 to 1-1. 1-1 for Alabama. Oklahoma 4-1 to 19-4. Ohio State 16-1 to 7-1. Auburn from 10-1 to 9-1, and Clemson from 8-1 to 9-1. And let's see, basketball this afternoon. Coastal Carolina played an afternoon game and got a victory over St. Andrews, 70-34. Jalen Shaw, who started his career at USC, finishing it at Coastal, went over the 1,000-point career scoring mark in that game. And we'll update some other basketball as we move along. Before we get to calls, I do want to Gamecock center, who's going to be butting heads with those Clemson defensive linemen, Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, and others. We had a chance to talk to him at USC Media Day on Tuesday to get his thoughts about what the Gamecocks are thinking about as they head into this game, considering what happened to them last year up at Clemson.
Definitely, you got to have an edge. It's a big rivalry. I can't even say the word rivalry. It's one of the bigger ones in the country, I think. It's one of the longest. It's got the longest games, going all the way back. I don't even know how far back it goes, but it's a long time. So 115. Yeah, 115 games. There you go. So I mean, you got to have an edge coming out there playing these guys. They're coming back off of a really, really great season. Obviously, we're a little sore from last year. You know what I mean? We want our shot back. You know what I mean? So we're definitely going to take it.
Is there honest respect between the two? I mean, do you think they respect you guys after the way they handled you last year?
No, I don't think so. And that's just personally my opinion. The way they finished the game out last year, was kind of not very good sportsmanship in my opinion. But that's fine. We're gonna get our revenge on them this year. So
you're predicting a win?
Yeah, we're gonna put forth every effort we got, and we're gonna be here at home. I know Willie B's gonna be lit, so we're gonna be ready to go.
Alan, whether it was the team or just you personally, how much did you think about that game and just how it ended last year against Clemson?
Obviously, I think as an O-line, we were angry. You know what I mean? We weren't prepared. I don't think we came into the game with the tenacity that we needed to, especially going into Death Valley. I don't think we were ready to go in there and play a game. Our minds weren't focused on the right thing, but this year we'll be where we need to be.
When you turn on the film and you watch last year's game, what emotion comes out?
I don't know. I guess disappointment in the way we played. But that's fine. We'll be ready this year. There's no doubt about that.
Dealing with their two interior tackles, Lawrence and Wilkins, how tough is that from your position?
They're going to be two of the better players we played against all year. 42. He's very quick. He's probably going to go for. He's probably a first rounder. You know what I mean? Both of them guys inside are 99 is going to be a really good player for us on the outside. I don't think that linebacking core they used to have, but they make up for that all with their D line. They've got a really good D front.
Have you guys talked about last year? This year?
No, we've kind of put it behind us. We just kind of we're just looking for our revenge. That's all.
Alan Knott, thank you very much. I actually did kind of stick the pin in there a little bit. I'd forgotten about that little give and take. So, yeah, Alan Knott representing the Gamecocks, a little bit irritated over the way things ended last year, hoping that, or expecting, he actually said, we're going to get our revenge, so we shall see. Okay, let's go to Glenn in North Charleston. First call tonight here on Sports Talk. He likes to go by Sports Buzz. We know him as Glenn. What's up, Glenn?
How you doing there?
Happy Thanksgiving, Glenn.
Fine.
And I just want to tell Will that, hey, there's no antagonistic or anger and I'm a fan of Gamecock, and I like it, Will. So I hope there's peace next year and everything. And I'm sorry I didn't recognize your name at first, but now I know y'all. So it was something to get used to. But I hope everybody has a safe Thanksgiving and enjoy their turkey.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. What's hard about Pelagic? I mean, that's a very easy American, down-home Southern name. I mean, P-A-L-A-S Z-C-Z-U-K.
Look at you going all the way in there. How about that?
Well, I actually practiced that, yeah.
Well, here's the deal. You just listen to his name phonetically. Don't look at the spelling. You get thrown off.
I like the spelling.
We actually had somebody who listens to the show today who came up to my dad and said, "You Will Pelagic's dad?" And he said, "Oh, yeah."
Oh.
Somebody who helped him fix his car, actually.
Your star. Same one that helped fix your car.
Same guys over at the Dick Dyer dealership.
They like that Pelagic money, boy. They know it's large. All right, we'll be back.
It comes, man.
We have the M&M boys coming up next. Little appetizer for your big turkey tomorrow. Be right back.
The big guys are up next. Corey Miller and Will Merritt. It's the M&M Boys. This is Sports Talk.
We are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Wednesday night. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, the Professor Tom Hayes, and we want to wish everybody happy travels out there. Of course, be careful. Enjoy your holiday wherever you are headed. Make plans to be with us tomorrow night for our special edition of Sports Talk after you eat all that turkey and drink whatever it is you'll be drinking and having fun with the family and friends. Tune us in 6 to 8 tomorrow night, pre-recorded edition of Sports Talk, special preview of USC and Clemson. And then on Friday, back live as we take you into the weekend for the Gamecocks and the Tigers. It is time now for the M&M Boys here on Sports Talk. We do have former Tigers standout lineman Will Merritt with us. We are efforting to connect with Corey Miller.
I think he's scared.
Gamecock linebacker. I wonder if he's intimidated. Yeah, I wonder if he's running, Will. Is he running from you once again, you think?
Well, listen, it would have been the same way had we been on the field together. He'd have been running from me. So, no big deal. I mean, I understand this was coming. I mean, what did you expect? This was his last opportunity to go ahead and start sauteing that crow up before Saturday night.
He is, okay, we just heard from him. He's doing some taping for TV, so hopefully he'll get to us in just a moment or two. So you know how that works. So we'll let you handle both sides of the aisle here a little bit.
Darn TV people messing everything up for us radio folk all the time.
How solid are you in your feeling that Clemson's going to win this game on Saturday night?
Well, I'm very confident they're going to win the game. I think they're the better team. That's why I think they're going to win the game. I mean, if you go into this game, and everybody loves that old stupid cliche about throw out the record books. I think that's one of the dumbest things ever. I think you throw the record books out. I mean, I think that the better team still typically wins this ball game. I do think Clemson has the advantage in where it counts in this game. That's why I give the edge to the Tigers. I was a little bit surprised that the line was as high as it was when it came out. Not surprised at all that Clemson's favored by more than one possession. But if you'll remember, going on the road down there with a lot to play for a couple of years ago, it was a struggle. I don't anticipate this to be anything like what you saw last year by any stretch of the imagination, but where it counts, Phil, is on the line of scrimmage. That's where I think it counts. I think which team protects their quarterback the most and is able to establish the run, not just throughout the game. I think the team that runs the ball early in the contest wins the ball game because I think it's going to set the tone for the rest of the contest. And I also think Clemson has the edge getting Dexter Lawrence back on the defensive line this week. They'll have 4 healthy bodies up there, and I really do believe they're going to be very disruptive for Bentley in the backfield.
Where do you see, from Clemson's standpoint, you touched on a couple of things there, but where do you see the strongest part of the game where Clemson will have the greatest edge? Where do you see where the Tigers just stand out, in your opinions, just stand out more than the Gamecocks can offer up?
I think in 2 areas. I think you're going to see a heavy dose of ETN. I think ETN is probably going to have one of those type of breakout type performances. I think a couple of big runs there. I think once he's in open field, I'm not sure that South Carolina has enough defensive speed to be able to stop him. The other area, I think Kelly Bryant will have to run the ball effectively. And I know that a lot of people say, well, you don't want your quarterback being your leading rusher. I don't really care who the leading rusher is. If you're able to run the football, you can run the football. I don't care if they're giving it to a pulling left tackle. If he's able to pick up good positive yards on first and second down, to me, the biggest key where Clemson offensively, I believe, is going to be able to outman South Carolina is going to be in the running game. Defensively, I think what they're going to do is I think they'll be able to get to the quarterback. I'm not so sure that South Carolina's offensive line can hold up the entire time to what Coach Venables will have dialed up. I believe that good offensive lines this year have done a good job in slide protection, and I would anticipate that South Carolina will go to that potentially early in the contest to try to thwart some of that rushing attack.
You know, interestingly enough, Will, I said earlier this week that it's hard to find an advantage, or at least to find a position where South Carolina has an advantage over Clemson. I think any discrepancy is either minuscule or imagined. Is there any spot on the field where you feel that South Carolina has the advantage over Clemson?
I really don't. As a matter of fact, that's the exact question that was posed to me in a radio show earlier today. And I'm not saying that from a slanted perspective. I think that if you just took the names off of these teams and looked at the body of work, you would probably have the same outcome. I think Clemson clearly has the advantage in most of the major areas. I do think South Carolina obviously has really good defensive speed. They're good at linebacker, so you might want to talk about that position. However, guys, if you get a healthy Lamar and a Kendall Joseph back and all those guys, do you really give them the edge there? Do you really give them the edge?
Well, Lamar won't play in this game. That's the one thing that we do know.
Oh, he's not playing. Okay, so
yes.
You know, but here's the other thing. You know, everybody wants to talk about quarterback comparison too, guys. I mean, Bentley's been the offensive guy. He's been the catalyst to everything. He's been the impetus behind all their big drives this year. But do you really take Bentley over a dual threat in Kelly Bryant, who, yes, has struggled throwing the ball downfield at times, but would you really trade one quarterback for the other one? And I would tell you, as a Clemson guy, I'm telling you, no, I wouldn't trade that position either.
I think his chemistry with the receivers is better.
Oh, you talking about Bentley?
No, I think Bryant's chemistry with his own receivers is better than Bentley's with his.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I know it was the Citadel. Okay, I get that. But I think you saw a little bit of a rhythm start to develop when the early parts of that game where Kelly Bryant had to he was only in there for, a quarter and a half, I guess it was. I was calling a game, actually, during the Clemson game last week, so I didn't get to see it live. Went back and watched the replay, but it looked like there was a good rhythm about his passing attack. But, guys, at the end of the day, this game is still going to come down to two big factors. It's going to be which 5 and 4 guys win that line of scrimmage battle. It always has been that way, and I don't think that 2017 is any different.
It's Will Merritt with us here, the M&M Boys. We are efforting to hook up with Corey Miller, who is doing some taping for his television station in Columbia, Watch Fox TV, and he'll join us as soon as he's done.
Ever sounded, by the way.
Will, you like this?
Ever sounded.
Will, yeah, good. Are you saying that because there's no Corey interference?
That's right. I'm saying this is my favorite time I've ever done your show ever. Right now.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Pro.
Yeah, well, as an offensive lineman, when you go on the road, and you can speak to what Clemson has done this year, the factors in making sure that you get a clean snap, good start on the offensive line, what are the differences in trying to communicate with line calls on the road with all the noise going against you versus at home?
That's a good question. And I'll say this. Billy Bryce is notorious for causing confusion and chaos with the noise. I don't anticipate anything less than a very, very loud stadium Saturday night. I think it being a night game is definitely an advantage for South Carolina. What you'll do is you'll go to a silent cadence. You'll see Kelly Bryant, instead of going with a hard count with his voice, he'll go to the snap, the clap of his hand. You'll also see a lot of pre-snap reads, meaning that a lot of the guys are going to go up there and make some calls before they get set, before the crowd gets into it. Watch the communication between the center and the guard and the tackle tied in before they ever get set on the line, especially in a third down situation before the crowd is able to get into it. They'll do some pre-snap reads, communicate that so that they don't have to when the crowd gets on their feet and starts to get loud.
Hey, Will, explain something to me, and I think all of us. None of us, I think, have ever played in a college football game in front of 80,000 screaming fans. So you say when they can't hear the voice, they go to the hand clap. How can the lineman hear the hand clap of the quarterback with 80,000 people or so, making that kind of noise? I mean, is the hand – yeah, so what does the hand clap actually do?
No, the hand clap is not for the line. It's only for the center. The center is actually looking back between his legs. When he sees the clap, he then keeps his head down, and the line moves on the head motion. When his head comes up, he snaps the ball simultaneously. The guards and the tackle are going off the head motion of the center.
Very good. I did not know that. Very good. All right, hang
I
on,
knew
Will.
that.
We're going to hit a break. I know you knew it, Will. Will, you knew it before I asked the question. So, I mean,
True
that's
that.
just your superior knowledge. We'll be back with more with the one half of the M&M boys. Hopefully, half number 2 will join us here after the break if he finishes up his duties. But we're glad to have Will with us here, breaking it down, and we'll be right back. I think it's appropriate to have Tiger Rag playing while we have Will Merritt with us, one half of the M&M boys, here on Sports Talk, brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Will Merritt with us, former Tiger offensive lineman. Corey Miller, unfortunately for us, is tied up taping a special at his television station, not able to join us. So we'll stick with Will here for a few more minutes. But let me play the devil's advocate. Let me be the pastor of pain. Not that I can impersonate him in any form or fashion. I will not attempt. But let's just say.
Just say something really stupid. It'll sound just like him.
He does that every day.
I wish he was here. All right, let's just say that the Gamecock offensive line does a great job and Clemson's not able to put pressure on Bentley. And let's just say the Gamecocks are able to run the football for about 125 yards. And let's just say Bentley's able to find time in the pocket and work off of play action, and receivers are able to get open, and Hayden Hurst is able to make some catches and some big plays, and maybe they hit a couple over the top for some big plays and score a couple of touchdowns. I mean, do you see an avenue to victory for the Gamecocks?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's really only two factors that I see that if Clemson falters at either one of these, the game could definitely go South Carolina's way. I think, early turnovers in the ball game. If they turn the ball over early in the contest and South Carolina is able to capitalize on that, which, by the way, South Carolina's done a great job of, under Muschamp, of creating those turnovers, especially first and second quarter. If they do that and they're able to put points on the board and convert those turnovers to points, and give South Carolina that hope in life that this is going to be their time to be able to spoil Clemson's run at the national championship playoff run, no question in my mind they will play inspired football. It'll be an inspired crowd, and it will go down to the fourth quarter. The second thing, I think if Clemson tries to get too cute with their offense, if they try to get too creative with their offense and try to out-call themselves, if you will, and they have a lot of 3-and-outs and they're not able to move and consistently keep possession of the football, and South Carolina starts to have more at-bats than Clemson does offensively, I could see this thing definitely swinging in the Gamecocks' favor and them playing, some of their best football. Listen, guys, this is a top 25 team. They're 8-3. They know they can win. They've competed with everybody. They're now on the national scene. People are talking about them in the rankings now. They have a lot to play for, a 10-win season possibly, if they can pull out this win. So don't tell me for 1 second that the Gamecocks will not give every ounce of what they have in this ball game. This is still a very talented football team. I think Clemson's more talented, absolutely. But this is a team that Clemson's not taken lightly on any stretch of the imagination.
Pro has hit this hard this week, Will, and I think that it really stands to reason that South Carolina has used a lot of ball control this year, and they've tried to lean on their defense. In my opinion, I think the path to victory for South Carolina is to air it out and test that secondary for Clemson, which has been shaky at times. Do you think this is the first time we actually see all the reins taken off of Jake Bentley and he tries to go deep with it a couple times?
Well, there's a catch-22 there. It's a great question, but a catch-22, okay? Because if you do that, what does Jake Bentley have to do? He has to have time. He's got to be able to have time to sit back there and let his receivers get further downfield. So, yeah, you might want to test those DBs. You might want to, see if Edmonds is really back and Carter and all those guys and test them, okay? I get that. But the caveat to that is that you're going to give an Austin Bryant and a Dexter Lawrence and a Christian Wilkins, you're going to give these guys an extra 2, potentially 3 seconds of pass rush opportunity. If that happens, then it could backfire in a hurry. You've got lost yardage, potentially, stripping the football out of Bentley's hand. There is a fine line they will have to walk to leave him back in that pocket very long.
Will, if you're Dabo Swinney and you're moving the football, and say you're inside the South Carolina 45-yard line, and it's 4th and 3 or less, and you're shaky about the field goal kicking, how many times do you think Dabo will go on 4th down to get it closer?
I hope all of them. That would be my goal. If they have a comfortable lead, and I say comfortable in this contest, meaning 10 to 14 points during the normal course of the contest, I think he goes for it 4th and 3 and under a lot of times. I don't think he's got as much confidence. He's got as little confidence as the fans do right now. Guys, you're seeing the same kicking woes that I am. Okay, they're seeing the same thing we are come game day. They might see something different in practice, but practice, you don't get to put any points on the scoreboard. And so I believe in 4th and shorts, especially, and you will have a feel for it very early on in the game. It will not be hard to identify and to put your finger on the fact, is Clemson reestablishing the line of scrimmage? If they are, there is no doubt in my mind that Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott will talk Coach Dabo Swinney into going forward in those situations.
I'm seeing some tweets from Corey Miller from his studio. He actually is having Taj Boyd in to debate with him on the Clemson-Carolina game, Will. He is indeed running from you. He would not dare bring you into his studios to go mano-a-mano.
Yeah, he doesn't want any part of me. Yeah, go get a pretty boy. Go get a quarterback. Of course that's what he's going to do. You're going to go get
All right, so we've come to
that.
that point. Give us your numbers for the game. Give us your score. How do you see it?
Yeah, I thought the line was a little heavy. I see this game not being a shootout. I anticipate this game being like a 25-14 type ball game, 26-14. I think it's a 10 to 12 point type contest. I don't think either team's going to just explode on the scoreboard. Here's my prediction. My prediction is that Clemson does a good job of not turning the ball over, and therefore it's a little less of an exciting game offensively, a little more mundane and boring on both sides of the ball. I anticipate South Carolina rushing for less than 100 yards, and thus everybody's talking about the Clemson defense come Sunday.
Score?
I'm going 26-14.
You got him getting a safety there, Will?
26-14.
26-14.
How did they get to 26? A little safety action?
Miss extra point.
True.
Yeah, things happen. Hey, Will,
Guys,
thank you, my friend.
Can get 26 a lot of different ways.
I know you can.
We appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next week going into the ACC championship game.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, that's Will Merritt with us here on Sports Talk, the Big M part of the M&M Boys tonight. Let me jump into recruiting here before we hit the top of the hour break. Got some interesting notes for you, beginning with offensive lineman Cade Mays of Knoxville, one of the top recruits at Clemson last weekend for an official. His second visit of the season with the Tigers, who've become a major player for him since he decommitted from the Vols earlier this month. Said he spent a lot of time with coaches Robbie Caldwell and Dabo Swinney, and everybody was kind to him, and caught up with his former high school teammate Amari Rogers, his close friend Mike Jones Jr., an incoming Clemson recruit, so he's got some strong connections there. He'll be taking an official visit to he's already taken an official visit to Ohio State, and then the first 3 weekends in December, he'll visit Tennessee, Notre Dame, and Georgia before making his decision on December 20th. Defensive back J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, Georgia, will take another unofficial visit to USC this weekend. He was going to decide between USC and Auburn. For this weekend, he has chosen the Gamecocks, so that's another good sign for USC, though he still remains committed to Tennessee at this point. USC commitment, defensive back Jonathan Gibson of Houston, Georgia, said he'll be in for his official visit this weekend. Clemson and USC target defensive end KJ Henry of Clemens, North Carolina, has set his official to Alabama for December 15th. He's also been to USC, Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Georgia. He announces at 4:15 p.m. at his school December 20th. One-time Clemson target linebacker Peyton Wilson of Hillsborough, North Carolina, decommitted from North Carolina today. 2019 defensive back Jaquan McMillian of Clemens, North Carolina, made an unofficial to USC for the Florida game. USC is in strong shape with him early, but he's also very strong on Wake Forest at this point. And USC offered 2020 defensive lineman Jason Jones of Calera, Alabama. Don't forget to check out our recruiting when you get a chance. We hope it's often on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter. Use the hashtag STRecruiting. Top of the hour break. We got the coach and the quarterback coming your way in the next hour. Don't call in. I'll answer all your questions for you. All right, you ready? All right. Here we go. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. Former Tennessee commitment offensive lineman Cade Mays of Knoxville was one of the top recruits at Clemson last weekend for an official visit. It was his second visit of the season with the Tigers, who are a major player for him, especially since he decommitted from the Vols. He's also taken an official. Take it again. In 3, 2, 1. Former Tennessee commitment offensive lineman Cade Mays of Knoxville was one of the top recruits at Clemson last weekend for an official visit. It was his second visit of the season with the Tigers, who are a major player for him. He's also been officially to Ohio State, and the first 3 weekends of December, he'll visit Tennessee, Notre Dame, and Georgia before making his decision December 20th. Defensive back J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, Georgia, said he will take another unofficial visit to USC this coming weekend. He was also considering going to Auburn. USC commitment defensive back Jonathan Gibson of Houston, Georgia, says he'll take his official visit to USC this weekend. And Clemson and USC target defensive end KJ Henry of Clemens, North Carolina, will take his official to Alabama December 15th. Phil Kornblue, South Carolina Radio Network Sports.
2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Rocking and rolling on a Wednesday night leading into Turkey Day 2017. Phil Kornbluth here with two of the biggest turkeys that I know, Will Pelagic and the Professor Tom Hayes.
Speak for yourself, Korn.
And let's welcome in two guys who are not turkeys at all. To me, they are prime rib, sirloin, the kind that costs you $16, $17 a pound. It's time for the coach and the quarterback, the coach Chuck Reedy, and the quarterback Steve Tanny Hill. Coach Reedy, how are you?
Doing great, Phil.
Good to have you with us. Mr. Tanny Hill, how are you tonight, sir?
Always good. Always good. Glad to be here.
You still slinging drinks tonight, Steve? Brian's looking for a place to go out tonight.
Nah, I'm not in town today.
But
I'll be back Friday for the big game, buddy.
But group is open, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
we're
good.
open 365.
There you go.
365.
Brian was
okay,
concerned.
now that we have settled Will's social engagements for the evening.
Brian was legit
I'm
concerned.
sorry. Brian's looking for a place.
Brian was.
Okay,
I got my folks in town. I'm occupied. Believe me.
Well, take them to group therapy. They'll be impressed by where you tend to gravitate after the show.
I doubt.
Chuck, Coach Reedy, let's get to you first tonight. Okay, so tell us how you see the game just generally playing out from what you know and what you've read and what you talked to people. How do you see this thing unfolding?
Well, I think it's Clemson all the way unless they help Carolina. I think the only way Carolina can win the game is if they have to have a +2 or +3 in the turnover department. If they do that, then they have a chance. But Clemson has to help them. If Clemson doesn't help them, I just don't think Carolina is good enough to win the game. They're not going to be able to run the football on Clemson. The only way they'll be able to run the ball is if they get Bentley involved in some form or fashion. If they try to run the ball with the one back like they have, it'll be below 50 yards rushing, and then Bentley, they're going to tee off on Bentley, and it's going to be tough. If Clemson helps them, then I think Carolina, and if they play well and don't turn the ball over, then they've got a chance. But otherwise, I just don't see them being good enough to win the game.
Steve, you concur with the coach, or do you see some things the Gamecocks are superior to against the Tigers that they can do and beat these guys, maybe without a great deal of help and just go out and play a better ball game?
Well, I think we need some turnovers. Don't get me wrong. I say all the time, only 2 stats in a game of football mean anything, and that's turnovers and third down. I think the key for Carolina is not to get in third and long. We got to stay out of the third and long, keep it in third and medium, get the ball to Jake Sand quick. I think Clemson's defensive line is maybe the best in college football. On defense, I think we're fine. We've played pretty well on defense all year. I think the key over there is don't let Kelly Bryant beat you with his leg. Make him throw the ball. But I think we got a chance. I feel good about it. I think the atmosphere is going to be great. I think that stadium will be the loudest and the best it's been in a few years, and I'm excited. I'm happy for our football team to be at 8-3 and to make this game a big game from where we were last year is a giant step in the right direction.
What kind of game does it have to be, Steve, for South Carolina to be in good position? Does it have to be a shootout, or does it have to be a low-scoring game? Can it be both? What is the best avenue for South Carolina to get a victory on Saturday?
My prediction was 28-27 Carolina, so I think we got to keep it somewhere around that number. I don't think a shootout benefits us because if we're having to the line is able to really just spin their ears back and rush, and I think that's not good. So I like maybe a touchdown every quarter. I think a game like that with some turnovers from Clemson, I think that we're in the football game. I think our wideouts at Carolina are better than the defensive backs at Clemson. I just don't think the Clemson defensive backs are that good, and they've had a bunch of injuries, and that hurts. But their defense line is so good that they make up for a lot of weaknesses in that secondary. And that's just how I see it. And obviously I'm pulling for Carolina, but I think they got a great chance.
Coach, it looks like when South Carolina is successful utilizing the run, they go to sometimes 2 to 3 tight end sets. Running the football, nobody said you have to run the football just handing it off. It seems that Clemson, any teams that's been successful at moving the ball consistently throughout a 60-minute period against Clemson, and there hadn't been that many, they get the ball out quick, 2-3-step drop, and a lot of short dump-off passes. And how do those short dump-off passes can replace what we would call a running game?
Well, obviously, I think the one thing that Carolina, if they can protect Jake and or, as you're saying, to get the ball out quickly, I think they can move the football, throwing the football against Clemson. I agree to some degree with Steve. The weakness of the defense obviously has been their secondary. And, I think that, that Carolina can move the ball that way. And that's what they're going to have to do. And, they certainly don't want to be in 3rd and long. They'll have a hard time protecting Bentley, if Clemson pins their ears back and just can rush the quarterback. But that's what they're going to, and the question was asked to Steve. I think the lower scoring the game is, the better it is for South Carolina. They certainly they don't want to get into a shootout because they just don't have the weapons, I don't think, that Clemson has to try to match Clemson scoring. So then, if you can keep it into a low scoring game and get it into the 4th quarter, if they can get the game into the 4th quarter, the one thing that, that we still don't know about Kelly Bryant, and we saw him do it against NC State to some degree, but, we haven't, he's not Deshaun Watson. When the game is on the line in the 4th quarter, you'd like to get it into the 4th quarter and see what he can do throwing the football to win a football game. And if Carolina can do that, then they've got a chance. But, getting it to that point, is going to be the challenge.
Steve, if you had a chance to visit with Jake Bentley Friday afternoon before the game and could give him some advice, what would you tell him?
Do the best you can to stay calm at the beginning.
Amen.
The thrill of this thing, when you come out of that tunnel, man, the adrenaline, and I talked to Bobby Fuller about this a couple of weeks ago, and he said, man, it doesn't matter what game, you're so excited to finally go play. That atmosphere Saturday night is going to be electric. And, you got to, as the quarterback, stay kind of calm if you can. Brad Scott used to, pull me after the first series all the time and say, hey, you need to just settle down. But I was just so excited and so hyped up. And I think Jake's a young guy and he needs to just settle down. Clemson Carolina game is somebody always emerges and has a great game, and either for Clemson or Carolina. And I think Carolina needs that guy, somebody, to just have one of those great games that you remember for a long time. If that happens, they're in the game. If it's Jake, it's Jake. If it's, one of the guys on defense, but that's what it's going to take to win. So one of those guys somewhere to just play that great game.
All right, guys, hang on. We'll keep you for a couple more minutes before you head off to your turkey and dressing. It's the coach and the quarterback with us here on Sports Talk, Chuck Reedy and Steve Tannehill, a couple of guys who have great firsthand knowledge and experience of the big Palmetto Bowl rivalry. We'll continue with the guys in just a moment.
chance.
We continue with Sports Talk here on this Thanksgiving Eve 2017. We have the coach and the quarterback with us. Back to them in just a moment. We'll wrap things up and let them get on about the merry way to wherever they are heading for the holiday. We very much appreciate them being with us tonight. Once again, a reminder, tickets are available for the Touchstone Energy Bowl coming up on December 9th in Myrtle Beach. $15 for a couple of more days until Friday. You can get those online at touchstoneenergybowl.com and also enter the contest to win a couple of tickets, a $100 Visa gift card, and free Touchstone Energy merchandise. Go to the website scliving.coop/touchdown. December 1st is the deadline to enter. All right, we wrap things up with the coach and the quarterback looking ahead to South Carolina and Clemson on Saturday. The Tigers are 2-touchdown favorites in this one, number 3 in the country in the playoff poll. It is nice, I think, this time, guys, that for the first time really since 2013, maybe 2014 when Dylan Thompson was quarterbacking, but certainly 2013, this is a game where Gamecock fans, coach, can feel like they've got a chance going in, unlike last year and maybe the year before when it didn't feel like they had much of a chance at all. I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if South Carolina wins this game. At the end of the day, what do you think the score is going to look like?
Well, I think that the 14 points, is a pretty accurate prediction of what it's going to be. I agree with you. I mean, Carolina has a chance to win the game. And I also agree with what Steve said earlier about, being 8-3 has been a fantastic season already. And it does give Carolina hope. The one thing that we need to look for, Carolina needs to keep the crowd in the game. Steve mentioned several times about the crowd. It is going to be electric to start the game. Clemson's objective, obviously, is going to be to take them out early. But if Carolina can keep the crowd in the game, then it'll be, it should be a very exciting football game. Unless Clemson helps them, I think it's going to be hard for Carolina to win.
Steve, you're feeling, well, you've already said you think the Gamecocks are going to win this thing, right? Did I hear you earlier pick the Gamecocks by like a point?
Yeah.
Yeah, 28-27 is my prediction, and I'm just excited. It's the first time I've been there in a while to go watch when the game, it means something. And for us to be 9 wins with a chance to win a bowl game and be 10, Clemson's got the playoff riding on the thing. So I just think it's a great atmosphere, and it's, as a former high school coach in this state, it's what you want. You want the game to mean something, and I think it does, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to watch it unfold.
Hey, what's the possibility that you're going to be the starter, the Gamecock guy? The starter, the guy out there leading the cheers this time.
I've already done that once, so I did that about 5 years ago, I think. And,
you can't do it again?
I wasn't approached, but I would think, from what I'm hearing, it's the Redskins are off, and DJ Swearinger might be the guy.
Ooh.
Chuck, would you be interested in that job? Would you like to go out there with the microphone?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm fine right now.
Well, your memories of Clemson, I think, much fonder than your memory of your year at South Carolina.
Well, we had a lot better players when I coached at Clemson, which made me a lot better coach. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. Diplomat.
Hey, listen, guys, we thank you very much for being with us. We'll dial you up. Maybe we'll catch you next week and do a recap and look ahead to Clemson's ACC championship game. Regardless, thank you so much for being with us all year. Have a great Thanksgiving. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you, Phil.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving,
yes, sir.
guys.
Thank you. Steve Tannehill, Chuck Reedy, coach, quarterback and coach, if I identify them in that order. We can't thank them enough for being with us here tonight on Sports Talk. We heard from the Gamecocks earlier. We heard from Alan Knott, the center. Dorian O'Daniel, Will, you were up with him to visit yesterday at Clemson Media Day to get his thoughts on the upcoming game.
He's one of my favorite guys to talk to between both of these two teams. He's always very, cognizant of the way the moment kind of impacts you, especially when it comes to this game. And I was able to identify him on a very personal level. We're with Clemson linebacker Dorian O'Daniel, so I'm going to shock you with something. You and I actually have something in common.
What's that?
We both logged minutes in the WCAC in football.
Really?
Yeah.
Who'd you play for?
I played for Paul VI. Not necessarily the same thing. Not necessarily the same.
Not good at basketball though. Yeah,
we do have that. We do have that. So how does this compare to Good Counsel DeMatha?
It's up there, to be honest. A lot of people don't really understand that rivalry just because it's an up north thing. But I would definitely compare it just because each year this is who's going to be the best in this region between South Carolina and Clemson, and same thing for up north, Good Counsel and DeMatha. So definitely brings back some memories about a rivalry, a lot of emotion. So I'm excited for that.
Now, being somebody who played at Paul VI, I don't know what it means to have a target on your back, but when you play for a school like a Good Counsel or a DeMatha or a Clemson, you have experience with a target on your back. How did games like that in high school prepare you for playing games this nature at Clemson at a place where expectations are such?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked that just because I feel like early on, me going to Good Counsel and being a dominant program, we always had a target on our back, and we embraced that. And looking back on it, I didn't think of it just because I didn't know what I didn't know. But here at Clemson, Coach Sweeney always talks about embracing the target. And for me, coming from a program like Good Counsel and transitioning into a dominant program like Clemson and with the same kind of attitude and belief of embrace the target, I think it's transcended really well with me and my play.
Dabo said something earlier today that struck me. He said that we have the season, and then we have Carolina. And that this game basically itself is kind of a season in a way, because not only do you think about it this week, but people around the state think about it the entire year.
Absolutely, and especially after the game we had last year, they're going to be all fired up, and they're hashtagging never again, and whatever it may be that they're doing. But I mean, this game is for bragging rights. Whoever wins, they get to talk about it for the year. And I mean, if you come out with the short end of the stick, it might seem like a long year. So you got to try our best and not be on the end of the stick.
How hard is it to block out all that noise?
Not too bad. Just because we can't pay attention to that stuff every week. Not just South Carolina. If we play Citadel, you can't let that noise about, it's just Citadel get in your head. You just got to worry about your game plan and executing at a high level.
What does it mean to be a finalist for an award for a position that you admittedly said you weren't proficient at coming in?
It's crazy, and it's very humbling just to know that my hard work is, being recognized. And I'm just so thankful for the players that I've learned from, my time here at the linebacking position, just to understand what it takes to be successful. And just thankful for the committee of the Buckus Award Trophy for noticing my ability.
How does South Carolina look differently on film than the team you saw last year up here at Death Valley?
They're doing a lot more. They're a lot more balanced. They're taking a lot of shots down the field while keeping it balanced with the run game. And Jake Bellingham, he's doing a good job keeping plays alive on his feet, looking downfield while he's doing so.
Tell your boys to keep it easy on the Panthers next time y'all play.
I'll try.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
That's Dorian O'Daniel from the Clemson Tigers, a fellow DMV transplant to the Palmetto State. Corn.
All right, let's go quickly to Atlanta. Kurt is with us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Kurt. Happy holidays. How are you?
Hey, Phil. Thank you, and I wish the entire Sports Talk crew a happy Thanksgiving, and appreciate your thankfulness in giving us 365 days of Sports Talk, South Carolina sports.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Pertaining to the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry, do you think this is South Carolina's best chance to beat Clemson over the next couple of years due to Clemson's recruiting class that they'll be getting in this coming winter? And secondly, if South Carolina beats Clemson this year, this would probably bar them close to being the top 15 in the country. If they are that, would they be eligible? I think they're eligible for a major bowl, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're eligible. Just depends on some other developments around the SEC. Thank you. We'll answer the questions after the break, and we're going to do a little basketball talk as well. Now Rapid basketball, number 1, Curtis Blow. All right, we continue with Sports Talk. Busy football week. We can always talk hoops here on Sports Talk. Of course, we are brought to you here on Sports Talk tonight by our good friends with the soybean farmers, South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at sesoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Let's work in a little basketball rivalry talk here on Sports Talk as we welcome in here for a give and go on this Wednesday night. Jordan Roper, former Tigers standout, of course, and Aaron Lucas, one-time Gamecock star. We've got Jordan with us, and let's welcome him into the program. How are you, Mr. Roper?
I'm good. How are you?
We're great. Happy holidays to you. Thank you for joining us. You don't mind talking basketball in the midst of all this football, do you?
No, I do not mind. I love it.
So what do you think of the Tigers to this point? Played for the championship of the Charleston Classic. Will was down there covering for us, so he got a good look at the Tigers. Sure you got a good look as well, and you checked them out for the entire season to this date. What did you think of their performance over the weekend in Charleston? Did we lose Jordan? Okay, we've got Mr. Lucas with us, but did we lose Jordan, guys? Okay, I think we might have. Let's go to Aaron then while we get Jordan back on the line. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me again.
Our pleasure. Thank you for being with us. Happy holidays to you. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. So we'll reverse things here and talk to you about the Gamecocks, who went 2-1 in the Puerto Rico tip-off at Myrtle Beach. Got off to a terrible start and came back and played some really tenacious defense and won the last 2 games. What do you think of how they progressed maybe from that first game in Myrtle Beach to the last?
Well, I think we discussed it last week about preparation for early games and trying to get some of these young guys, acclimated to different changes in times and routines. So I think that may have played a part in that. Another thing that stands out a little bit is the 3-point attempts. I think that's another thing that we'll have to watch as we go along during the season. But of course, after you get that one game out of the way, I think Coach Martin, again, his staff, and even the players themselves got themselves adjusted and realized that, they just have to get out there and do what they do best. And defensively, I think they started to set the tone again.
We have Jordan back in, Corn. I guess we can re-ask him the question with regards to the Charleston Classic. They went 2-1, did the Clemson Tigers in that tournament. Jordan, what were your thoughts and impressions about how things have gone for them so far this season and how they've looked so far?
I thought they played really well together as a team, and I thought, Clemson fans got to see Dante Grantham really step into that role of being a senior leader and, really lead his team offensively and just, vocally as a leader. I thought the guards played really well, and, everything seemed to be clicking very well, but they ran against a good Temple team, and, those games will happen, but I think moving forward, that experience that they can draw from last year moving forward, that will help them win those types of games.
Aaron, the Gamecocks have gotten a tremendous early lift from the freshman Justin Minaya. Frank can't say enough good things about him. What have you seen in his game that has impressed you so far?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I've seen with Justin is his ability to have confidence this early as a freshman and going through the rigors of, preseason practices and conditioning, obviously meeting the demands of Coach Martin and just understanding the concepts and what they're trying to do on the floor. But he's shown early on an immense amount of confidence. He's been shooting the ball fairly well. Of course, that'll improve as he continues to get acclimated to the system and the speed of the game. So he'll provide a great lift right now at 8.6 games. That's pretty good as a freshman coming in, especially in this conference.
You look at Corey Holder, the guy they expect a lot from as we go along during the season, but trying to get reacclimated, and lack of a better term, trying to trust his body again. He's shown flashes, but you played through injuries before. How difficult of a transition that is in trusting a body part, especially a knee that you need to make those quick directions that he's going through right now, making this adjustment?
Well, as a guard, anytime you have any type of injuries that affect your movement, those are the type of things that you have to be careful with, because you don't want to continue to slow yourself down, because, as a small guard, your speed and your agility is what makes you good. And so it'll take some time for him to, trust his body again. And, I'm sure Coach Martin and his teammates as well are giving him confidence to go out there. And, sometimes you got to push yourself and see what your body is capable of doing. So I'm pretty sure he'll slowly but surely start getting back to his old self, and hopefully provide a little bit more production along the way.
Jordan, when it comes to feeding the big man, they always talk about having them do their work early. I think Elijah Thomas got an unfortunate lesson in that, because it seemed like while he gained a lot of confidence in that opening victory against Ohio, and against Temple, they were really pushing him out and making him catch the basketball away from the painted area, meaning that when he was trying to do his turnaround jump shot and his hook shot, it was falling short, and it wasn't necessarily as proficient as it had been earlier in the tournament. How much do you think that he needs to come forward in his maturity to be a key player for Clemson going forward?
Well, it works both ways. The guards have to recognize when the big is open and really get the ball to him when he's got the opportunity with the back to the basket, closer to the basket. And, teams scout just like Clemson does. And, I'm sure that Temple scouted and saw that Elijah Thomas is one of the main guys on Clemson's roster that they have to stop. And they did a good job throughout the game. But moving forward, I think that, he has to establish his position down low without fouling and, just be the same player that he's been so far, and just, try to have some dominance down low so that we can move forward and have a more balanced offense.
But Jordan, wouldn't you agree that Eli looks like a totally different player compared to last year, both in terms of his build and his offensive aggressiveness and success to this point?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But, that just comes with, experience and just being more comfortable out on the floor, more confident. That all brings confidence, just that experience and being more comfortable, knowing where to be and what to do. That just adds to his confidence. He's able to go out there and play. And, so far, we've been seeing, who he was supposed to be coming out of high school, a highly touted recruit. And, it's great to see it. And moving forward, I hope that we see more.
Give and go with Aaron Lucas and Jordan Roper with us here on Sports Talk. Aaron, the Gamecocks missed, by my count, if my memory's right, in their 3 games in Myrtle Beach, 26 free throws. A lot of clanging going on from the line there. They're shooting under 68% as a team at this point. Anything to worry about, or is that just something that will work itself out as the season progresses? Maybe it's somewhat an indicator of who's going to the line to shoot free throws.
Well, I think when you look at the stat line, Chris Silver right now is the best free throw shooter on the team at 78%, and of course he's going to the line at a high rate. But I think the thing that stands out is Hassani Gravett and Justin Minaya both are shooting close to 63, 64% between the two of them, respectively. So, as guards, they're going to be in control of the game a lot, so they'll have opportunities to get to the line. But most importantly, in crunch time, they're going to have to be able to knock down free throws as well. So, you've got some young guys out on the floor. Of course, it's early on in the season, so those stats I'm sure will increase as the time goes. Mike Kotsar obviously has to improve from the line at 7 for 17, which doesn't help the overall team stats. But most importantly, I think the guards have to step up and start knocking down free throws a little bit better as well.
I got to ask you both real quick. Just give me a quick answer. Aaron, who wins the football game Saturday?
I am going with the Gamecocks. Absolutely.
Jordan, what say you? Who wins the football game Saturday?
I have to go with Clemson. I think it will be, a large margin of victory also. So, I'm excited. I'll be there.
Okay. Well, keep your head down if you're there, and don't wear orange if you know what's good for you. Thank you, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Wednesday, next edition of Give and Go here on Sports Talk.
Send your comments or questions to talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, more of Sports Talk from Columbia's Main Street.
Thanks again to Aaron Lucas and Jordan Roper for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk Give and Go. They'll be back with us on Wednesday night. And, of course, they'll become more important to us as we get into the meat of the basketball season. Kurt from Atlanta called a little while ago, asked a couple of questions. Let me answer very quickly. If USC were to win, would that mean a flipping of the rivalry in their favor? I mean, you know, it would be a big step for South Carolina. Clemson's not going away. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be good. They're good now. They're going to be good in the immediate future. So the Gamecocks are just going to have to continue to recruit well, develop well, and improve to try to pull even with the Tigers, if not maybe a nose ahead somewhere down the road. As far as the bowl situation, if the Gamecocks were to win, get 9-3, yeah, that would put them in shape for a really prestigious bowl. It depends, of course. You got to wait and see how things sort out with the playoff and how many SEC teams make it into the playoff. And after that, you'll have some idea of where South Carolina could fall. But 9 wins would most likely get them in one of those Florida bowls and probably on New Year's Day, I would think.
I would think that.
Okay.
I would think that not only gets you into Orlando, but it at least puts you in position maybe to sneak in the year 6, especially with a head-to-head win over Clemson. But I think the best year for them to possibly win would be either next year or the year after if the progression continues like we thought it might have over the course of the next couple of years.
Well, there's some people out there who really believe the Gamecocks are ready to beat the Tigers and beat them now, as in Saturday. One of those, the pastor of pain, Corey Miller. You know, he dodged a wheel tonight. He was busy doing his own deal at his TV station, but he has graciously joined us here for his own personal segment. And first of all, let me say, happy Thanksgiving, and happy to see that your son, Christian, is back on the practice field at Alabama.
Well, I appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope everybody enjoys a great day with their family. Of course, they'll have so much to be thankful for and so I appreciate that.
Well, what do you think about Saturday? I know you think the Gamecocks are going to win. Tell us why.
Well, that's funny. You're a prophet, right? That's awesome. No, I think it'll be a great football game. All jokes aside, I think being a night game is definitely an advantage for South Carolina. I do think by losing the way they lost last year, 56-7, an embarrassment to a lot of those players and coaches and definitely to the fan base. Those guys still talk about that. They have talked about that for almost a year now. And I think, you know, the emotion of that is going to allow them to play extremely at a high level. Now, that being said, once the game gets going, now you got to execute. You got to do all the other things that you need to do to win the ball game. But I think South Carolina will have a chance just because I think defensively do good enough. I don't think Clemson's offense is that explosive. They're going to do what I like what Coach Saban does and some of the great defensive coordinators. They take away what you do best offensively, and that's Kelly Bryant really running the football and moving the chains. I think they're going to try to take away that run game and make them a one-dimensional team, something similar to what Will Muschamp said that South Carolina can't do. You can't be third and long and then knowing that it's a pass. I think South Carolina's defensive line has really come together and played well. They're better at the tackle position that takes away that inside run with Kinlaw and the others. And I think, you know, Jake Bentley can have a big night because I think Clemson can be exposed in the passing game. If you go back and look at Syracuse game, one, I think you speed up the game. I think you see you incorporate the quick, short passing game. We saw that against Wofford, a lot of tunnel screens to Edwards and those big receivers, taking advantage of the smaller cornerbacks. And I think they're going to spread them out a little bit. I think they're going to make Clemson safeties cover. They can't cover if you go back and watch them. Anytime they're isolated and they have to cover in the slot, they're going to have trouble. And I like, you know, those guys in that matchup. So there's some things I think Kurt Roper's going to have to do. He's going to have to sharpen that number 2 pencil, and he's going to have to dial up some plays because I do think the defense is going to give them a chance in this ball game. So, and I love the stat when they're both teams are ranked. South Carolina ranked 24th in the country. Clemson ranked number 3. They're 5-1, and the only loss was a push-off with Rob Gardner. So I like those odds. I like the way things are trending, and I think South Carolina is going to spoil Clemson's playoff run.
Do you think, Corey, that this is the game where we see Kurt Roper take the reins off of Bentley a little bit? We see them take some deep chances, or do you think they use more of a quick game in order to try and keep the defensive line from Clemson from pinning their ears back and trying to get a free shot at him?
I think you got to go quick game. I really do. I think, you know, you go to short passing game, get 4 or 5 yards. I think you got to go empty sets, get A.J. Turner out there on those linebackers. You know, it's okay to get those 3, 4, 5 yards in the passing game. They're like good running plays. So I think he'll open up the playbook. They have nothing to lose, guys. Nothing. So why not? Try some crazy stuff. Catch them off guard. Clemson has everything to lose. South Carolina's got everything to gain. So I think you're going to see the kitchen sink, if you will, out of Kurt Roper. I think the Gamecocks will be happy with the play. They sit there and try to play the way they play, handing the ball off up the middle and trying to run into the teeth of that Clemson defense and that great defensive line. They're going to get blown out. They can't play that type of game. They're not physically ready to match up with Clemson right now. So you got to do things that you know you can have success at. Take advantage of what they do defensively. They're aggressive. They're going to blitz. They're going to run fire zones and zone dogs. What do you do with stuff like that? Quick passing game, screen play, go fast, don't allow them to line up. Those are things that you've got to do to take advantage of an aggressive defense, and I think we're going to see that on Saturday. Again, I'll say it again. I think the defense is good enough to keep them in this game. 24 points is my number. Clemson's defense, great at home on defense. On the road, they give up 24 points a game, guys. My magic number, 24 for South Carolina.
Corey, let's talk about some of the intangibles. And I guess it looks like from this season, as it has progressed, this team, including its seniors especially, has taken on the personality of Will Muschamp. Bulldog, nothing gets in our way. No Debo, well, we'll adjust. No Rico Dowdle, we'll adjust. Offensive line banged up, we'll adjust. How important just in this football game, the mentality that Muschamp has preached, has this team accepted, and how much will it help in the 60 minutes coming up on Saturday?
There's an old song that says it's written all over their face. Well, that's the deal. Muschamp is written all over the face of this team because, he talks about the discipline and work ethic and preparation and all the things, toughness, then physical. That's what they do. And it's the next man up. We're not afraid to play a young player. Look at the job of the defensive line, how they have really come along and been developed. I mean, these guys have done an outstanding job of coaching really less talent. And they got 8 wins right now. And we could talk about the SEC East and all that stuff before. South Carolina would have lost those games, but because of that personality trait, because of what they understand of how to win, how to go about winning, they have adapted the persona of their football coach. And I love what I see of this team is trending in the right direction, guys. And I'm excited about it. I'm not just saying this like the guy you had on the the big homer. It's rivalry. I don't want to be in the same. I might have to bust him in the mouth. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can bust him in the mouth, the big homer up there. I was a real Clemson Tiger tonight. Taj Boyle, somebody that did something on the football field.
Ooh.
That's who I was with. Not somebody that's living vicariously through those other 4 guys that had to help them out. Double team. That's the guy you got on the Clemson guy. Give me a real player, Phil Kornblue, to talk some football with. How about that?
Wow.
I like it. I
think you have a challenge for next year, Corn.
Yes,
hey,
indeed.
Will couldn't blink here. He had to get guys to step down and help him all the time. You know what I'm saying? But on Saturday night, baby, get ready to party in the fist because the game will really to the occasion. That's right, Clemson. Get your tissue ready because you're going to go back home up the I-2685. However you get to that little mud town up there. You're going back home with tissue, okay? I'll have something for you right there at Joe Rice or Dance Rucker Tailgate. Come and see me.
Wow.
Some very expensive tissue, no doubt. Corey, we thank you, my friend. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you at the ball game.
God bless you guys.
You too. Pastor of Payne, Corey Miller.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Guys,
Corn.
have a great Thanksgiving. And everybody out there, have a great Thanksgiving. Remember our special show tomorrow night, back live with you on Friday. Thanks to all. Happy Thanksgiving from Sports Talk.